Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Vishnu Pad Paramhamsa Purvikacharya Astra Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Urdayet Nasta Preya Subhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 13, Text 32. If you could repeat after me. Pashyami Dhananam Klesham Lubdhanam Ajitatmanam Bhayad Alabdha Nidrainam Sarvato Abhivishankinam Pashyami Dhaninam Klesham Lubdhanam Ajitatmanan Bhayad Alabdha Nidranam Sarvato Bhivishankinam Pashyami Dhaninam Klesham Labdhanam Ajitatmanam Bhayad Alabdha Nidranam Sarvato Bhivishankinam Pashyami Dhaninam Klesham Labdhanam Ajitatmanam Bhayad Alabdha Nidranam Sarvato Vishankinam.
Pashyami Dhaninam Klesham Lubdhanam Ajitatmanam Bhayad Alabdha Nidranam Sarvato Vishankinam Pashyami Dhaninam Klesham Lubdhanam Ajitatmanam Pashyami Dhaninam Klesham Lubdhanam Ajitatmanam Bhayad Alabdha Nidranam Sarvato Vishankinam Pashyami Dhaninam Klesham
Anyone online?
Pashyami dhaninam klesham
Pashyami dhaninam klesham
lobdhanam ajitatmanam
lubdhanam dharmanam
bhayad alabdhanidranam
vayashanam
sarvato vivishankinam.
Okay. Pashyami, I can practically see. Dhaninam, of persons who are very rich. Klesham, the miseries. Labdhanam, who are extremely greedy. Ajita Atmanam, who are victims of their senses. Bhayat, because of fear. Alabdha Nidranam, who are suffering from insomnia. Sarvataha, from all sides. Abhivishankinam, being practically afraid. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Brahmana continued, I am actually seeing how a rich man who is a victim of his senses is very greedy to accumulate wealth, and therefore suffers from insomnia due to fear from all sides, despite his wealth and opulence. Purport. Greedy capitalists accumulate wealth under so many miserable conditions, the result being that because they collect money by questionable means, their minds are always agitated. Thus they are unable to sleep at night, and they have to take pills for mental tranquility to invite sleep. And sometimes even the pills are a failure. Consequently, the result of having accumulated money by so much labor is certainly not happiness, but only distress. What is the value of acquiring a comfortable position if one's mind is always disturbed? Narottam Das Thakur has therefore sung, Samsara Bishanale Dibashini Hiya Dwale Judati Na Kainu Upaya. I am suffering from the poisonous effect of material enjoyment. Thus my heart is always burning and is almost on the verge of failure. The result of the greedy capitalist's unnecessary accumulation of wealth is that he must suffer from a blazing fire of anxiety and always be concerned with how to save his money and invest it properly to get more and more. Such a life is certainly not very happy, but because of the spell of the illusory energy, materialistic persons engage in such activities. As far as our Krishna consciousness movement is concerned, we are getting money naturally by the grace of God, by selling our literature. This literature is not sold for our sense gratification. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement, we need so many things, and Krishna is therefore supplying us the requisite money to advance this mission. The mission of Krishna is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and for this purpose we naturally must have sufficient money. Therefore, according to the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, we should not give up attachment to money that can spread the Krishna consciousness movement. Srila Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubi parityago vairagyam palgo katyate. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things which are related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, though they are material, this is called incomplete renunciation. Money that can help in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement is not a part of the material world, and we should not give it up, thinking that it is material. Srila Rupa Goswami advises, Anashaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255. Money is undoubtedly coming in great quantities, but we should not be attached to this money for sense gratification. Every cent should be spent for the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement, not for sense gratification. There is danger for a preacher when he receives great quantities of money, for as soon as he spends even a single cent of the collection for his personal sense gratification, he becomes a fallen victim. The preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely careful not to misuse the immense quantities of money needed to spread this movement. Let us not make this money the cause of our distress. It should be used for Krishna, and that will cause our eternal happiness. Money is Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune, the companion of Narayan. Lakshmi ji must always remain with Narayan, and then there need be no fear of degradation. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapanandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapara Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hare Priya Vancha Kalpatri Bishcha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So Srila Prabhupada, actually in the Bhagavatam, he mentioned this saying that money is sweeter than honey. But what is the result? Anxiety and an agitated mind. The mind is almost impossible to control. Arjuna, he was arguing with Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he said, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayur eva sudushkaram. Arjuna, he says that the mind is turbulent, restless, and it has a very flickering nature, and to subdue it is more difficult than controlling the wind. But when money is the only thing that people can think of, you can imagine the stress, And it was mentioned before that there are 4 ways of learning: hearing, seeing, experience, and not learning at all. So in this connection, Prahlad Maharaj, when he was praying to Lord Nrsingadev, he told Nrsingadev, My dear Lord, now I have complete experience concerning the worldly opulence, mystic power, longevity, and other material pleasures enjoyed by all living entities, from Lord Brahma down to the ant. As powerful time, you destroy them all. Therefore, because of my experience, I do not wish to possess them. My dear Lord, I request you to place me in touch with your pure devotee and let me serve him as a sincere servant. So Prahlad Maharaj, he experienced all of this, material opulence. And who did he learn from? His father. Hiranyakashipu, he had control of the entire universe. And all the demigods, they were trembling with just the flickering of his eyebrows, or just his eyebrows. And he said even Narada Muni, he was under his control. But Narada Muni, just to teach us the lesson. But Prahlad Maharaj, he understood that material opulence, it didn't bring any great happiness to his father. His father was so miserable, because his son, he wasn't willing to admit that he was God. So many people in this world, they have a misconception that, I'm God, you're God, we're all God. But Vijay Prabhu, he would say, if you're God, do something very simple, which is to read my mind. And they can't do that. But Krishna is all-knowing. He knows past, present, future. And so when someone claims to be God, they should do something very simple like read the mind. And all of these great kings in the past, they had everything. Material opulence, wealth. But they renounced it like it was garbage. The Pandavas, Dhruva Maharaj, he was willing to leave that behind. And also, see, the way the mind works is that it's not satisfied with what it has. Like, I forgot who the speaker was. I think it was Dharma Setu Prabhu. He said millionaires, a million is not enough. They need to have another million. And then after that, another million. So they're never satisfied. So the mind hankers for what it doesn't have, and then it laments what it used to have. But Prahlad Maharaj, he's saying, I don't want any of this, because ultimately, time will destroy it all. Time will take everything. And Krishna is a representative. He says, as time, I devour and destroy all things, in the Bhagavad Gita. But Prahlad Maharaj is requesting just to be a servant of a pure devotee of Krishna. So that's something that we should be inspiring for. It's not accumulating wealth, but I know the devotees here, we're kind of aloof from that. His Grace Nirantara Prabhu, he was explaining how Dravida Prabhu only has a few pennies, I don't know if that's true, but it made me laugh, And on book distribution, I asked this question, what's more valuable in life, wealth or peace of mind? And most of the people, they will admit that having a peaceful mind is more better than wealth. And some people, they actually hesitate to answer. There was one person yesterday who was with his parents, and he said, you're not going to like my answer. So I said, why is wealth more important to you? And then he said, I can buy anything I want. And I said, will that keep you happy? And he said, it will. And then actually his parents, they were disagreeing with him. So I was just behind the table, observing all this. And the parents, at first, they kind of looked disgusted with their son, They knew how much he was just chasing this material. He was probably like 20 to 30 years old, like a young man. And I asked the parents, can you talk some sense into him? So I offered this book to the parents, Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. And then the father, he was looking at the book and he was showing it to his son. He said, see, son, you're living this unnatural happiness. And he was actually preaching for me. And then towards the end, the father said, I want to get this book for myself. So I asked for a donation. They gave a donation. And as they were walking away, the father held the son by the shoulder and said, son, I need to talk to you. So they were gonna talk about it. But most people, they want wealth, because that's what modern civilization, this is what their definition of success is. To have economic development, money in the bank. Success means having aristocratic friends and relatives. And success means having the newest and latest gadgets. And success is defined as having a higher standard of living compared to others. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes success as actually different. Success is towards spiritual advancement or cultivation of Krishna consciousness. There's this saying that I really like, and it sums up our society. People spend money that they don't have to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. People, they can hardly pay their rent, but still their mind is hankering over a newer car, I asked this person, what is the purpose of a car? And he understood it just takes you from point A to point B. And I said, what kind of car do you drive? He said, I drive it was a new car, like less than 5 years old. And he said, but I'm thinking about trading it in. And I said, why do you want to trade it in? He said, well, I want to have nice things to impress my friends. And I told him, is that really considered success, to have a new car and to brag something to your friends about? And he actually listened. And I said, success means to be able to control the mind instead of being a victim of your own mind. And then he said, how can I do that? So I offered him japa beads. And I told him it's very practical. You can just practice 5 minutes a day and you chant this nice mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And we were just chanting it together, repeating it. And then naturally he had this bright smile on his face. And I said, see, this is called the happy mantra, And so I can feel it. And I said, if you really take this chanting of Hare Krishna, in a daily way, if you do it every day, you'll see a big difference. And then he said, I want to get the beads. Most of you don't get the newsletter, but Yamuna Pati Prabhu, Dwijamani Prabhu, and myself, we take photos of very nice interactions that we have with people, especially those that take beads. And we can make a whole photo album of it, And people, they just look so happy after getting the books as well as the japa beads. And so the standard of living is in a very materialistic society. The results is, you can say, unsatisfaction. So the Brahmana, he said, I'm actually seeing how a rich man who is a victim of his senses is very greedy to accumulate wealth and therefore suffers from insomnia due to fear from all sides despite his wealth and opulence. I used to work at Coronado Island, and it's considered to be a wealthy part of San Diego. And my patients, they had mansions, you can say. But I had to give them 2 medications. One was antidepressants and sleeping pills. So this is to confirm that they're not happy. Despite having a nice car, a big yard, this, that, money in the bank, they couldn't sleep at night. His Holiness Bhakti Damodar, Swami Maharaj, he was telling a story how he was going to a home program. And this person had a big house. But he noticed that there was people lined up in front of the yard. Not only that, but he had 2 gates leading to his house. Not only that, but there were security guards all over the place. So Maharaj, he was saying, look how disturbed he is. And then the people that were waiting for him, they were there to ask for money. So, wealth it actually brings more anxiety than people think. And in the Hetopadesh, it's interesting because it says that wealth that's given in charity to suitable people and that is enjoyed every day, that wealth is actually theirs. But the wealth that's in the bank, that's just sitting there, that's not their money. It's protected and then it goes towards somebody else. That's why many people, they don't like charity, because their wealth diminishes. I was speaking to one person and I said, if you had $1 million, what would you do? And then you can see his mind just running. I'm going to get a house, I'm going to get a car, this and that. And I said, would you ever use it to construct a temple? And he said, no way. So Srila Prabhupada, there's a very famous story or even a picture. I kind of forget the details. But I think they put forward a large sum of money. And then one person would say, no, I don't want anything to do with that. He had his face turned. But Srila Prabhupada said, give me the money, I'll hold it like this. Because as devotees, we know how to utilize wealth properly. Like in the purport, it says, spreading the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Krishna consciousness movement. And this hard labor to accumulate money, it's not happiness at all. But Srila Prabhupada says people are so dull-minded that they cannot understand this. To work so hard to accumulate money, but they don't see that this is actually misery. I meet a lot of people sometimes, and Dvijamani, he also met a lot of people. They have 2-3 jobs sometimes, working day and night hard just to accumulate money. And as a grihastha, it's one of your prescribed duties to take care of your family, but that shouldn't be the all in all. And it says that a vulture can see hundreds of miles away, but cannot see that death is near. So people they're making plans and plans, but death can happen at any time. I'm sure a lot of us can attest for that we know somebody that just suddenly passed away. And when we have a society, nation, or civilization that puts importance on material success or economic development, the results will be unnecessary competition. I have a red Mercedes. Well, I have a Lamborghini. Nowadays people don't even compare that. They compare dogs. In Balboa Park, you see that. Always I had a German Shepherd. And it's just really nonsense. And I forgot who said it, but I think it was Nirantara Prabhu. He also mentioned how there's some dogs that cost thousands of dollars. They breed these dogs, and then they sell them. And also there's this unhealthy endeavor to accumulate more and more. And ultimately ending in frustration and confusion. The younger generation now, they don't look very happy at all. They don't like going to school. Not only that, but they have to dress in such a way where they want to try to impress their friends. In Vedic culture, they actually had wealth. They had gold, silver, like that. But now people have a logo on their shirt. And there was a young man. He was at my book table, and he had a Burberry shirt, I guess like a luxury designer brand. And I asked him, how much did that sweater cost? And he said $600. $600 for something just to keep you warm. So a lot of people, they're confused on what the goal of life is. Nate vidusva artha gatam hi Vishnu. The goal of life should be to please Krishna, to serve the devotees. Not only that, but to have unmotivated love for Krishna. There was a nice lady that came to my table yesterday. And what impressed me was she was really appreciating nature. And she said, I'm retired, I have money in the bank, but I just come out here and, but I knew she was dissatisfied with her life. Because there's something missing, which is Krishna. And she was telling me how she spends money, giving to the poor, giving to the homeless. And when I asked for a donation, she rejected. So it just kind of made me laugh how people are sometimes hypocritical, or yeah. And I said, but what we're doing, we're actually trying to help society become more spiritually inclined. And then she said, oh, that's good, And then she just walked away. So you meet a lot of people on book distribution. And Mukunda Charna Prabhu, he went on books, so I'm sure he has some nice encounters and stories. And having money or born into a family that has wealth is not a bad thing, but it can be intoxicating sometimes. And the story that reminds me of this is Narada Muni, when he encountered the 2 sons of Kuvera. They were sporting in the lake with the damsels of heaven. And they were so intoxicated by their beauty and wealth that they didn't cover themselves up. But the ladies, they were sober and they covered themselves up. So Narada Muni, he says that wealth blinds a person, while poverty restores his ability to see. So in this world, people are chasing money, and that's the only thing that they can think of. And it's actually very sad, to put so much importance on material or economic development. That's the only thing people have on their minds. And so by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we can see the results of having wealth, what it means to be a victim of our senses, what it means to, like what Dravida Prabhu says, lust-encrusted heart. If you love sensual stuff, that actually destroys, Krishna says that's the all-devouring enemy of this world, lust. But people don't see this. His Holiness, Tamal Krishna Goswami, he uses a very good example that when someone is trying to sleep, let's say Sureshwar is trying to sleep, nighttime. But I turn on the light, and I say, hey, Prabhu, how do you think Sureshwar will feel? Angry. Turn off the light, I'm trying to sleep. So we compare the devotees, the Sankirtan devotees, like that. We're trying to wake up people from this materialistic dream. But how do they treat us? They get mad, You get so many people walking past the table, no, I don't have time for this. And sometimes they say very harsh things like, I'm not interested, or sometimes people say stupid things like, I don't know how to read, So the devotees were turning on the light of knowledge to these sleeping souls, Jiv Jago. And so sometimes the Hare Krishna movement is not so appreciated. So anyway, okay, that's all I have. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Comment about, because this is, he's describing someone who's dhaninam. He sees that those who are greedy for wealth have so much misery and stuff like that. But, and you were describing some of the things, but how this mentality can be very damaging to the world. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone in this room who doesn't believe in climate change anymore. I mean, I've been here, just sitting here, I've been living here for 35 years, and the climate has definitely changed, what to speak of elsewhere. But there's one fact came out that because if you understand the dynamic, a lot of it is coming from burning fossil fuels, okay, carbon dioxide, whatever. So this was known to these the biggest oil company, ExxonMobil, early in the 80s. They had their own scientists, they have top flight scientists. They pay top dollar, and they were telling them, yeah, this is what's happening, when everyone burns our product. So what was their response? All right, then we got to have an advertising campaign, against that. In other words, we have to try to buy off some scientists to put some doubt. In other words, their mentality is, well, how can we, keep making billions of dollars without people doubting a product like that? And so this mentality that's why it's one of the things that characterizes the demon. The demons, Hiranyakashipu, his very name is, give me more gold, and then I'll sleep, and the bed companion. So it has vast consequences for the earth itself. So we're not directly usually talking about the climate change, but you change people's mentality so they're satisfied with less and they live more simply, then it'll help the whole world in many ways.
Thank you, Dravida. Yeah, and this in the previous verses it says that material happiness is like a mirage. People are chasing after mirage. Tujamani Prabhu.
I have two small questions, Prabhu. First question is, why Srila Prabhupada calls people dull-minded?
Well, as far as I understand, they're not using their intelligence properly, and then they numb their minds in, intoxication, and then they don't, and also Srila Prabhupada, he always mentions that to understand I'm not this body, they don't understand that at all, And the body's changing and we can see, but they don't understand that, and I think that's when I read that Srila Prabhupada calls them dull-minded.
Yeah, it's like when that verse is suffering, they're like, like animals.
Yeah. They can't understand higher topics.
Another question, we chant Maha Mantra, and it's a good remedy against the raging mind. But even though we chant Maha Mantra, sometimes throughout the day we still encounter some difficult moments in life. So how can we keep our mind focused? How can we reach that state of mature spiritual practice that we always steady, like Bhagavad Gita teaches, be steady in happiness and distress?
Krishna says you have to pull the mind back, and life after life, we've had this enjoying mentality, and then now we're given this process of Krishna consciousness. We think it's going to be very easy. I was in Vrindavan one time, and there was this brahmachari, and he was asking a question to Maharaj. And Maharaj asked him, how long have you been practicing Krishna consciousness? And this brahmachari said 9 years, And then Maharaj looked at him and said, that's nothing. What is 9 years compared to millions and billions of lives, So just keep chanting. There's so many verses that, by chanting it purifies. And then eventually, you become naturally attracted to chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And you don't give it up just because it's difficult, right? Drita Prabhu, do you want to add something to that?
I know it may sound difficult, and it is difficult at first. But the process of like memorizing verses, starting with Bhagavad Gita, just to learn the verses, Prabhupada says, I listen to lectures all the time, and yesterday he was talking about how we should know when we're reading Bhagavad Gita that we're hearing directly from Krishna. You should, that this is you're in His presence. So I've found over the years that these shlokas, of course, obviously somehow or other I'm fortunate to have a propensity for it. But if you take the trouble to memorize the famous Bhagavad Gita shlokas, which you can then share with your friends and also and use them in classes, and just, Vaisheshika Prabhu, how many times does he recommend a chapter a day, chant a chapter a day? He's been doing it for decades, So that's quite an advanced platform, a chapter a day. But just, the famous verses we have collections of, and the one that Prabhupada would always quote, So you feel the original language, it has a certain potency, obviously, This is a nice way to calm the mind by fixing it on Krishna in the form of these wonderful vibrations. And of course, the Bhagavatam, has so many other verses and different meters and things. And I can help you if you want, to learn how to the different meters. Even these small verses, I think sometimes devotees trip over them. Sometimes they're not so easy. But it's worth the effort. Prabhupada definitely wanted us to do it. He talked about prayers of Queen Kunti. Everyone should get these prayers down. So that is one way to feel that your mind is becoming subdued by becoming satisfied in these verses. Philosophy verses, nectar verses, whatever. So that's my little pitch.
Thank you, Drita Prabhu. Anyone else have a question? Yes, Veer Chandra Prabhu.
Thank you for the class. You mentioned on your answer that this very famous phrase that keep chanting, but we know in Chaitanya Charitamrita there is text which speaks that if we chant with offenses, we can chant million lifetimes and nothing changed. So how I understand, this is not enough only keep chanting. This is should be something else more. What do you know about it?
Okay. Well, we're committing offenses every day, whether we know it or not. But Dravida Prabhu, I forgot who he was. I think it was Vijay. But he says, actually, I try this sometimes. When you're chanting japa and your mind wanders, you go back a beat like that. You don't go forward. Instead of, just saying, I thought about something, I'm going to move. No, but he actually goes back. And then he forces the mind to okay, don't think of that. But, yeah, I'm not sure how to answer your question. Dravida Prabhu, do you have something?
Well, we recite these 10 offenses, but it's good to more than just recite them, to read about them, discuss them. How can I believe there's Bhaktivinoda Thakur who said the root of all offenses is inattention. And why is that? Because if you're really attentive to the sound, then you're going to be experiencing the full potency of the name, and you'll experience an increase of taste. It'll be more fulfilling because it has. We read about it and we experience it to some degree. How the potency of the name, just to provide this sense of peace and satisfaction, just put it on that level from the beginning. I remember when I first started chanting, and it was back in '72. I don't think I started with the devotees. It was another group that had it, and I started chanting. But I picked up. Of course, I eventually visited the temple and everything. And it just, it just stabilized my mind. And it gave a certain sense of peace, which is like a preliminary experience of the name. But we can read about these offenses, read the Harinam Chintamani, we can learn the Nam Ashtaka, by Rupa Goswami. You could just read the English if that's it. But there's prayers to the name to please, give me more relish for you. The name is Krishna. The name is not different from Krishna. So you can pray to the name, through the name. Or you can, I'll give you one sample verse. This is a verse, the last of the Namashtakas. It has this devotee's name in it, Madhuripura. Narada Vino Jivana Sadormi Niryasa Madhuripura. Tvam Krishna Nama Kamam Spadame Vasane Vasena Sada. It's a prayer. First it glorifies, holy name, you're the inspiration for the Vina of Narada Muni, And you are a river full of thick and the sweetest nectar. Madhuripura means a flood of sweetness. Please always appear on my tongue with great relish. Please let me increase my taste for you. You can chant that verse 10 times. You can meditate on it, discuss it. Mm-hmm. And by the prayer, you get response from that. And Krishna is responding. He's hearing, this is sincerely praying like that. So there's several within that Namashtaka. And I remember distinctly when I read that fabulous biography of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Vaibhava, I think it's called, by Bhakti Vikas Swami. And it was organized in such a way that there's different sections about different, there's one with summary of his life, but then there's one section on, I think there's a whole section on it, glorifying the holy name, how important it is to glorify the name. Because the name is a person. Mm-hmm. And what will be the result? Then give you the mercy, give you more taste, give you more, and enable you to have the strength to give up the offenses. So that's one thing, is that there's a whole, many books beginning with Harinam Chintamani. You know, I heard something about that book that I was amazed, because if you're familiar with the writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote this Jaiva Dharma book, which is, you know, a tremendous book. It's like a novel, but it's a series of conversations like Bhagavatam, you know, and all, you learn so much. So it's really like a great opus. And then I thought Harinam Chintamani is like that. It's a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur about the holy name. But then I heard that it's actually a pretty literal record of a conversation that they really did have. That Haridas Thakur was speaking about, you know, the holy name to Lord Chaitanya, and someone rounded it down, and that was the basis of that book. So it's you know, these treasures are there to give us more understanding about the holy name, to help us avoid the offenses. He goes through all the offenses, and in this way we can cultivate the, you know, the taste and the realization about the holy name. And it also really helps to glorify the holy name and try to get other people to chant the holy name. Krishna is very pleased and gives you more realization about it.
Thank you, Dravir Prabhu. So even though we're committing offenses, we should keep chanting.
I'll just add something too. It's also glorify and also serve the holy name too, like Krishna Lounge and all different kind of events like that. Organize them and be part of a organization too, and then also a way to serve the holy name. And also, Vijay Prabhu, he mentions like that. He says, I've attended many japa seminars, but this one, the practice you mentioned, he learned from, I think, as far as I remember, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Goswami.
Yeah.
And that's
go back and do a whole round. You know, I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah. And it works, you know, to be inattentive. It's really easy to do. But if you're attentive in your chanting, you can relish a little nectar. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your time and attention. Grant Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.